I am very sorry for it being another dry week of videos on this channel. It's been another week where I've only knocked out one fast video, which wasn't much effort, and that's because I've been having to work some overtime, people. I'm only doing 15 hours a week, you know. I don't make enough on this channel, but I have found some time here to knock out this for you. From next week, definitely I will be back to normal producing work for you. In the meantime, I have decided to have a quick look at this site. You know, it's around, I'll say it's, if people are talking about Tartaria, you know what I think on that one, but there was indeed some type of volcanic ash event, because I pointed it out in Rome. If you see, or anybody here can remember the videos and images I showed you in Rome, where it's literally, even the main street outside the Colosseum there is, it looks to be about 6 meters deep in mud and ash, and it took them about 3 years to excavate the entire town centre. They're still doing it to this day, right? So something took place. In my own personal opinion, I would put it down to the volcanic eruption called Krakatoa. I know that mainstream archaeology have educated us that that took place thousands of years ago, but I think it was something much closer. And it's what's buried all these sites, right? And it must have taken place, it can only have been some type of volcanic eruption. I've said this before, because when you've got a sloped edge, not just like some pyramids, but just buildings in general that are falling down, if you've got a sloped edge, rain and weather would wash all that mud and ash down off that slope within just a couple of years. So the fact that it always ends up with growth, you know, all over it, and weeds and plants, and in some cases you even get trees that end up growing through these rubble, tells you 100% without any shadow of a doubt that that event, whatever covered these sites, took place immediately. For that growth to have got a foothold in the first place. This site here, you can see from the picture on the screen here that there's so much of it buried, and we will probably never see this and sites like this excavated ever, especially in our lifetimes. All these forests, which seem to be just so grown on, just completely cover the entire area. You know, there's so much soil and sand, and that's another thing about these types of sites. It's not just ash, which is mud, that covers all these things. When you dig down to any type of depth around these sites, it's just pure sand, like beach sand. So obviously it's been flooded as well. And it's not just because these things are down below sea level, right? We're talking about hundreds and in some cases thousands of feet above sea level, right? And also, let's not forget, for anybody new to this stuff especially, that we're also fighting against university funded archaeologists, children basically, that are taught to come to these sites and dig out and take away anything, right, and then piece it together later. And they piece it together basically to a map. You know, these maps are drawn up, and they rebuild everything towards that narrative, which is the narrative that was all taught at school. Okay, so looking at sites like I'm showing here, these are actually the best ones to look at, sites that are luckily still half buried, because everything, especially in Egypt, is not even worth looking at anymore, and it's a site that I wouldn't even want to go visit. Egypt, I want to see all life. Like the first 3 decades of my life, I always wanted to Egypt, but I wouldn't even go there if somebody paid for it now. Anyway, if you like the 3 playlists that I have on this channel and you want to help me move forward and put more time into these videos, then there will be a link in a pinned comment.